So yesterday, as some of you may know, Epic Games released Unreal Engine 4 for free and gave people like me a $30 credit on their $20 subscription. Not 24 hours later, Unity has punched back and now released the long-awaited Unity 5 with global illumination, as promised, all for free. There is a pro version, but you get all the features of the pro version in free now. They have released it a bit early. It was promised for mid to late this year, so I'm curious to see how stable it is. Anyways, very quickly, I want to tell you, I switched to Unreal Engine for my current game project a couple weeks ago from Unity because of all the features people were telling me about that Unreal Engine had, and it was making me drool. And so I was starting to enjoy it when this news came out. Unity is giving its punch back. So, since the Unity servers are choking, as you can see here, I'm getting errors all over the place. I can't log into my account to download the new version. Let's quickly look at some of the new, let's look at the new features of Unity 5 until I can log in and download it, and then I'll make a quick video showing off the new version of Unity versus Unreal 4. I'm going to do my usual import a mesh and material into both engines and see how they look. We'll see just how good global illumination looks in Unity 5, because Epic Games promised global illumination on Unreal 4, but they haven't got around to it yet. Instead, they kind of introduced an in-between version for the time being until they were able to introduce real-time global illumination. So we see all this little HTML5 video here, but they have created a changelog. So this is where all the changes are listed. I'm going to go over some of the bigger ones in here. So here's the major features for Unity 5 before I get into the video. So we have physically based standard shader. The new standard shader will make your materials look consistent in any lighting environment across mobile, high-end desktop, and consoles. Apply it across 95% of the materials in your game, such as metal, plastics, wood, ceramics, and cloth. Use it together with the new HDR skybox, reflection probes, and global illumination system to create stunning visuals. You can see in the picture here. So it'll be interesting to see how this looks, how it works, if it's node-based like Unreal, and how taxing it is. There is real-time global illumination, of course, the #1 feature people have been waiting for. I think it's probably been implemented a little too early, and I'll probably tax the computer a little bit. I think this is probably going to be a performance killer, but either way, animate lighting with real-time global illumination built on geomerics and lighting technology, achieve dynamic lighting treatments on high-end mobile, desktop, and consoles, and for lower-end devices, create beautifully detailed results with baked artwork. So you can bake some more lighting. HDR reflection probes. Enhance visual fidelity with our new HDR reflection probes. Add richer detail by having any object realistically reflect its surroundings. Reflection probes are easy to implement. Just place a probe at any location in your scene to sample reflections for its surrounding objects. I go into more detail on this later in the video. They've updated to PhysX 3.3, so the physics are just going to be up great. The physics in Unreal is great, and that's because they're using version 3.3. I found in Unity 4, you really have a hard time getting the physics to act realistically. I think this is going to make things way easier. They've also added a new audio mixer, so you can mix your master, you can mix footsteps, you can mix say gun sounds, you can mix everything, and you can also add effects. They've also enhanced animator workflows and added a bunch of new features. Here's the audio mixer. You can just see a general overview of it, so you can adjust the compression, you can see how much of the CPU it's using, you can add different effects to it, and you can mix everything, so you have master voice, music, etc. The new physics engine, so better support for everything. There's new multi-threaded simulation for platforms that support it. There's a new cloth component for character clothing, so you'll have clothing simulation. There's new wheel colliders for better support for suspension and tire force simulation, and collision detection is improved, and bake-free scaled mesh collider support is added finally. A more powerful animator. I'm not an animator, so I don't know a lot about it. You can look at it, but apparently they've really revamped the animation system. They're now on 21 platforms, you can see here, including the new WebGL support coming soon. WebGL preview, the Oculus Rift support upcoming, iOS metal rendering support, Unity Cloud build. Kind of interesting, but you have to pay for it if you're a free user. I should add, all the features of Unity Pro, if I haven't said already, are now available in Unity Free. It's stuff like this that you have to pay for as a free user, but is included in a professional license. This is the game performance reporting, so it can be read via a web dashboard, but basically you make a game and it sends out reports on the game report performance, so that way you know what hardware is working good with your game, what isn't, what your average frames per second is, etc., etc. There's analytics, so this way you can figure out how long your players are playing your game, if they're playing it over and over again, if they're how long they're playing it for, and stuff like that. So again, you have to pay for it if you're a free user. This is kind of bugged out. Their website's absolutely just struggling right now, but here's some of the other ones, although some of them got cut off. I can't even scroll to it. Improved linear lighting, HDR skybox and cube map workflows, improved job scheduling system, plus a new CPU timeline profiler, lets you see and investigate multi-core usage, access to the new Unity store. Basically, there's going to be like a professional Unity store and a professional forum for only pro users. Improved project wizard, updated standard assets, a new UI and new scripting APIs for the asset bundle build system, and they've just added a bunch of new features to the API. Anyways, that is the overview. Now I'll go through some more details. Some of the ones that are quickly going to make you go, they've added physically based standard shader to make your materials look consistent in any lighting environment cross-platform. So, physically based shaders, as we know, are just like in Blender when we add nodes for translucency or specularity and stuff like that. It makes it look like an actual physical material. Now in Unreal Engine 4, it's a node-based system. You add in the nodes just like in Blender, and it works great. In Unity, you had to write shader code yourself, in Unity 4 that is, or you had to use a pre-made one, or there was assets you could buy to do the node-based material creation. However, I never really tried that. So I'm interested to see how this is gonna be. If it's similar to the way Unreal Engine 4 is, and if you looked at my other videos, you'll saw how easy it was to make a material. It took about 10 seconds to make a simple diffuse material and text textured material and shader in Unreal Engine 4. Anyways, they've added real-time global illumination, which is built on Geomeric's Enlighten technology. So they do have real-time GI, so we'll see if that does look beautiful, and we'll see just how taxing it is on the PC. I think it's going to take up a lot of performance because Unity 5 with global illumination was supposed to be released later this year, so I don't think it's optimized fully. They've added a new audio mixer. I don't have the picture in front of me, but they just added some more features to make using, creating, and modifying audio in Unity easier. They've added HDR reflection probes to enhance visual fidelity. So you can now use HDR sky maps, cube maps, a few other places too. They finally updated to PhysX, NVIDIA's PhysX 3.3. So the physics system is finally going to be so much better. I personally believe that Unity 4's physics was quite not antiqued, but kind of just arcadish. You'd see things clip, and sometimes stuff would do weird things. It was just kind of it was extremely buggy. But physics 3.3 is great. It's the exact same version that Unreal 4 uses, and I'm loving the physics in this version so far. And all of the major games that have come out recently in the last 12 months or so use 3.3. Anyways, major updates to the animation system. I'm not a big animator in game engines, so I'm not going to go heavily over that. But they've just changed the way that you can use animations in the game, mostly. I don't think this is going to compare to Unreal system, where you can do a physics simulation with something and record that as an animation. I think that's just awesome feature, and I'm sure Unity will copy it eventually, or there'll be an asset for it. But they have made updates, and they've made a preview for releasing it to WebGL. So the WebGL is another new supported platform to bring their supported platforms up to a total of 21. I'm developing my game just for PC, Mac, and Linux, so that's not a big thing for me, but of course it's always nice. So yeah, now Unity is compatible with all the PlayStations, all the Xboxes, the Wii, Windows, Linux, Mac, iOS, BlackBerry, everything, Android, you name it. So they've added to the AI. They've increased the performance and reduced memory consumption. It's about 30% better overall, and they've increased they've improved pathfinding. So AI should be much better in 5.0. So this is the animation changes they've made. They've changed state machine behaviors, as you can see a little picture here. State machine transitions, so you can now add higher level transitions from state machine to state machine, and entry and exit nodes define how the state machine behaves upon entering and exiting, as you see in the picture here. Again, I don't really do animations. I have someone else do that. Anyways, there's an asset API, so it allows you to create and edit in the editor all types of mechanism assets. They've added an API for avatars, motion nodes, vents, and curves in the model importer. There's a direct blend tree, so you can see here how you can control the weight of each child independently. So it makes me think almost like shape keys in Blender, really. There's root motion authoring. The whole animator tool's been revamped. You can now have layers and parameters that are reorderable, and apparently the workflow's just been improved, and just a bunch of other things. So this is the new audio mixer, as you can see here. So you can see that you can adjust the attack time, the release time, stuff like that. So, and compression and stuff on the fly, and you can mix all your different levels here. So you can see in this place here, in this picture, they have weapons, they have footsteps, FX, menu, music, and master. So you can edit the levels and such. And I believe they've added effects. Actually, I know they've added effects. They've added effects that you can add to audio now. And they've also changed it so now you can override settings per platform when you're importing audio. So you can have different compression characteristics for different platforms. And yeah, they've just increased the way audio performance is. This is the audio profiler that shows you statistics and detailed information. One thing I should add that's very cool is they've now introduced the ability to add analytics and performance tracking. So if you release a game in Unity, you can now track how your players are playing it, how long they play it, how many times they play it over, as well as what performance users are getting, the average frames per second, different hardware profiles, and what they're getting in terms of performance, network performance. This is all built in now. Consoles, so there's day one support for Xbox 360 and 1, PlayStation Vita 3 and 4, and Wii U arriving later in the spring. The console extensions are now compatible with the editor. The Unity editor is now 64-bit. There is a 32-bit installer available, but this is going to make Unity so much slicker. Unity is already faster than Unreal Engine 4, but it's going to make it just that much better, especially now that it's got a lot more stuff built into it, which is, I think, where Unreal slows down, because it has all those features built into it. It's also increased its size. I believe the Unity download is now 11 gigs and it installs down to 6 gigs. A new asset bundle build system, a new project wizard dialog, a timeline profiler, as you can see here, for multi-threaded profiling. So you have a worker thread, worker thread, render thread, and main thread. So you can see that visually. There's version control, so you can merge scenes and prefabs and stuff like that. There's a new plugin inspector. And graphics. This is where everyone's really interested. So graphics, they now have integrated real-time global illumination technology and improved light mapping workflows. So you can see the picture here, real-time GI off, real-time GI on. You can see how much more realistic it looks, obviously, versus the standard lit scene here. In continuous baking mode, scene changes are automatically picked up and tasks to respond to pre-compute data for dynamic GI, calculate static light maps, light probes, reflection probes, etc. So that makes me very interested in how taxing is this going to be. I'm very interested in that. What else is major? Directional light maps can now be baked into a directional specular mode. So this lets you have your materials keep their shiny look, and so you can have these different versions, which obviously this one and this one look similar, but the directional specular looks a little bit better, and it's just slightly more taxing. So you have the different options. There's a new lighting window, so you can specify different kinds of lighting that you want. There's a huge addition for HDR. HDR can be used for the skybox. HDR is automatically recognized and imported. You can use it for reflection probes, so you can import an HDR scene and have it reflected on shiny objects in your scene. And reflection probes are baked similar to light probes and stored as cube map assets. So that means it shouldn't be a huge performance hitter. And yeah, it'll achieve high quality glossy reflections because it's baked. So it can also be rendered in real time though, so that's kind of cool. Skybox and ambient improvements. There's a new deferred shading rendering path. So there's single pass multi-render target G buffer shading. It's a new rendering path that you can use. They've improved cube map work. They've improved cube map workflow. They've really worked on meshes. You can now have more than 2 UV coordinates, so you can have up to 4 UVs from one model file. That's great. I'm not going to go over why that's great because that's a little more complicated than I want to get into right now, but that is awesome. They've integrated speed tree. If you've never used speed tree, it generates absolutely beautiful vegetation. Now, Unreal Engine 4 has a great vegetation system, and people are doing some absolutely beautiful things, and you're able to add millions and millions and millions of trees in your scenes if you want, using instancing in Unreal Engine. But the fact that they've integrated speed tree directly into Unity is great. You have a frame debugger, so you can see exactly how each frame is rendered by stepping through each draw cell one by one by one by one. There's command buffers, scriptable, so that you can extend the rendering pipeline. Shadows have been improved. Directional soft light has been improved. Yeah, the physics have been improved big time because of the physics 3.3 version. 2D physics have been improved. They've added some new API stuff for 2D physics. This is kind of cool. Auto update obsolete Unity API usage in scripts and assemblies. So you may have seen this before, where Unity gives you an error that says warning, this something that you used is out of date, you should update it to this, and maybe sometimes you don't know how the new one is used. So now it says the majority of API upgrades are done automatically. There's a new standard shader, there's physically based shaders, there's also a whole new cloth system. What else? Build time stripping of unused shader features, so that'll increase performance. There's new standard assets, which is great. The WebGL support and huge list of supports here. There's a whole new. They've redone the editor over. They've added a ton of stuff into scripting. They've improved everything just majorly. There's a huge list here.